Is there a team that you believe, doing all the things that they did this offseason, are Super Bowl contenders, one, and number two, who do you think, by adding certain players, are players and not Super Bowl contenders for the addition players that they added?
There is no way you can convince me that the Buccaneers are worse than they were last year. In fact, that they're way superior than they were a year ago. I know Brady's another year older, but they added pieces in the draft. Guys are getting healthy again. I think the Bucs are far and away the best team. Their defense, every single player could literally be a Pro Bowler. It's pretty insane how good that team is. And I think the division, I love, people want to love and trust in Jameis. I'm not sure if I do fully. But I think they're going to take a hit too with no Michael Thomas. There's a reason why they drafted Ian Book. I know I'm a Notre Dame fan. I got to throw that in there, but there's a reason why they drafted him. And the love affair that Sean Payton still has with Taysom Hill, and Taysom Hill's going to be forced in there in spots where he should not be. He's going to make mistakes. I'm not sure if I love that team. The Falcons, really no defense, no run game. They're not really going to fight for the division. And then you have the Panthers, so we just talked about a little bit with Darnold. I actually kind of like what the Panthers are doing. I think they may be a year or two away with the Matt Rule, Joe Brady regime there. I do like them a lot, especially with CMC coming back from his injury. That's a good offense, but I don't think there's no team in that division that's even close to what the Bucs could bring. So that's the chalk answer. That's the boring answer. Teams I like that people aren't giving buzz right now. I mentioned before, I do like the Dolphins because of their draft, getting guys like Jalen Phillips and Liam Eichenberg, and obviously Jalen Waddle was their first pick. I love what they're doing for Tua to help him out. I like Brian Flores as a coach. He'll be one of the good Belichick guys that come off the tree that's not a total failure at the head coaching position, so I like them. Not sure how far they'll go, but they're going to be in the mix. And then the one team that nobody's talking about in the NFC West, and they think they're on the way out, everyone's like, well, the 49ers now got Trey Lance, and their team's getting healthy because they pretty much had every single starter hurt last year. Obviously, the Rams bring in Matt Stafford or Steven Strasburg, one of the two, quarterback. So they're going to be in the mix. And the Cardinals I don't buy. Kyler's a fun player. He got hurt last year. His shoulder got hurt. The team kind of fell off a cliff, and their defense isn't that great. Why? Look at the record that Russell Wilson has in the NFL. He's never had a losing record. The guy is a winner, and I think their plan this year, last year going in, they were saying let Russ cook and let him kind of just run the offense through himself, and he didn't really do it. They kind of forced stuff. It was good at points, got kind of ugly near the end. I think there's whispers, does he want to leave Seattle? Does he want to move on? I know there was rumors that he want to go to New York. Does he want to go somewhere else? I know he's dating Sierra. So they want to be in the limelight. I guess Seattle's not a good place for pop singers.
That's why you love him. That's why you're speaking high of him. That's why I got it. I got it now because you think he's the next New York Giant quarterback. I believe it.
Well, there was an interesting rumor, which I could talk about potentially later if I may get in trouble with it, but there was a rumor a couple years back with before the Odell Beckham trade that Russell Wilson was trying to work his way to the Giants that I heard through some circles in the NFL. But anyway, if this is his last hurrah, let's just say with him and Pete Carroll and an aging head coach, the oldest head coach I believe, and Russ, it's going to be. I can see Russ winning MVP, throwing the 45 touchdown passes.
I hope so. He's my fantasy guy.
I think they're still going to be in the mix for the NFC West. I don't know why people are discounting them. And the defense wasn't great. Jamal Adams was probably a little overrated. Not a great pass coverage safety. But they have two great receivers. Tyler Lockett, talk about underrated players. He's going to go down when he retires as one of the most underrated receivers of this era. And obviously everyone loves DK Metcalf. If Carson and Penny stay healthy, that's good enough for the run game. So I still like Seattle. So those are my kind of wild picks that no one's really getting into.
Okay, so I want to shift to the Notre Dame aspect of it. They won, but underwhelmed against Florida State, a team that's kind of a fringe team and a lot of new pieces all at once. Are you concerned already with this, or is it going to be the same old Notre Dame, even though they're top 10? And also, again, what do you think about them in the ACC now in comparison to Independent?
Well, I wish they were back in the ACC. Do you see what their schedule is? They have the most out of the top 25 teams. They have the most ranked opponents left. The ACC is, obviously with the Clemson loss, the Miami loss, the UNC loss, the Florida State loss. Some people liked NC State. I'm not really sure if I buy into them. So their teams were, I think people kind of overrated them. They wanted Clemson to look better because they knew if Clemson did slip up and lose, then they were pretty much screwed the rest of the way. But they're a team last year, Notre Dame, that had arguably the best offensive line in college football, and they had one of the better defensive fronts in college football. And if you'd look at those PFF grades, they would have all those players listed at top to bottom. The game that just happened, the instant classic game versus Florida State a couple of days ago, it was a way different grading system where it was like Jack Cohn was up there and Kyron Williams was up there and Michael Mayer was up there. So they're more of a skill team now, and I love Ian Book. Ian Book was not the best Notre Dame quarterback, but he was a guy that just got it done however he had to get it done, but he would never push the ball downfield. And Jack Cohn standing there, and he slung the ball downfield to Kevin Austin, whoever else. Michael Mayer had a million catches in that game. So I think it's going to be a more fun team. Marcus Freeman's defense they brought over from Cincinnati is definitely more of a risk-taking defense than what Clark Lee would do last year. That being said, a bunch of guys from the defense went to the NFL. This defense is still a little bit younger. They have Kyle Hamilton, who's going to be a top 5 pick. Everyone's going to remember Kyle Hamilton's name on Sundays very, very soon. But it's going to be more of a boom or bust defense, and that's why you saw a lot of big plays from Florida State. But there were a lot of missed tackles Notre Dame had in the backfield, so I think the score should have been a lot further apart than what it was. But I'm glad we got the win, and I'm glad people at least enjoyed watching that game. But, yeah, that was a tough one.
Speedy, before you let Tyler go, read what people are writing, Mr. Producer.
He has a limited amount of time. So.
That's right. Just spit out some of the stuff. You don't have to like some of the last couple of stuff that they're saying.
Okay. Snug says the Patriots are Super Bowl contenders, but the Bills win the division. Carl says Hunter Renfrow with a bomb. Get out of here. Notre Dame is one of talent, but they won't make noise in the playoffs if they make it. Snug says, I don't know. Steven Strasburg couldn't be any worse than Jared Goff, and Sam Darnold's going to crush it week 1. After that, who knows?
You know what? I'm not going to say what I really feel, Snuggy Wuggy, because I am going to stick an air ball down your damn throat, you punk. Anyways, go ahead, Tyler.
So, there's no transition here. Screw it. The New York Yankees and the New York Mets have had very interesting seasons, to say the least, right? The Mets started off white hot and then fell off a cliff. The Yankees started off god-awful, got hot, and now they're trending more towards god-awful again. I said during the trade deadline to not sell, but to go find a starting pitcher worth a damn, which was certainly not Andrew Heaney, who's no longer even in the rotation. And Aaron Boone needs to be fired. Now,
oh, God. Here we go.
Being that you are a New York fan, I actually think the Mets are set up traditionally better long-term than the Yankees are.
How do you figure?
Because the Yankees are going to have to pick and choose a lot of different guys. And the young talent the Yankees have may not pan out to be what the Yankees thought they were. Mm-hmm. The Mets' young talent's already pretty much producing what they are.
Really? Who?
Pete Alonso.
Pete
Alonso right now is the best baseball player.
Do you know how old Pete Alonso is?
He's like almost 30 already.
He's 27. He's not young. He's not young.
But he's young enough in baseball.
He's not young. And
he's young enough.
And the Yankees have players, the young players, and Luis Severino, who is been out for like 2 years, he's still only 25 years old.
That's great.
So
that's fantastic.
So
I didn't know Edward Spaghetti was Errol Marks.
I'm just saying because you sound like an idiot. But go ahead.
Anyway, Mr. Spaghetti. Should Yankee fans and Met fans be excited, disappointed? What is the takeaways from this year? Obviously, the season's almost over. The Yankees look like they're pretty much a lock to make the playoffs at this point, or the play-in game, whatever you want to call it, and the Mets seem to be done. Do you have a preference on what the Mets and Yankees should do in the offseason? Do you think the Yankees have a shot to win this whole thing?
I think, let's start with the Mets. I think my preference for the Mets would have their owner delete his Twitter account, for starters, and then find a general manager who just does not get in any legal trouble. Like, maybe if they could do that, it would be a good thing. Like,
That's
I
hard
feel
to
bad
do,
for Mets fans. Like, it's a fun thing. You see, like, Cohen tweet. Everyone's like, oh, it's cool. You know, the guy from the show Billions, he's tweeting. He's a kooky owner with tons of money. He's going to bring in players, and they go and bring in, like, Javi Baez mid-year, and he's not that great, and they're booing the team. I mean, that becomes a clown show. The Yankees was a little more, like, sad, at least. It wasn't, like, a fun explosion when the Yankees were having their tough times. Like, the Mets were just, I mean, it was one guy's getting arrested, one guy's tweeting up a storm, and then you have the thumbs down thing. So they've had some up and down stuff themselves. I mean, the Mets are going to have to make a tough decision, probably with Noah Syndergaard. I don't think he'll be back. It's a shame to see what happened with DeGrom, who was on an all-time stretch. Like, people forgot that, like, how good Jake DeGrom was early on in the season. No one was hitting him. But in terms of what you said about them ever brighter future than the Yankees, like, I don't agree with that in the slightest. I think that the Yankees have plenty of good prospects that can come up, guys like Dominguez, the Martian. I think actually the guy Volpe is even ranked higher than
15th
than Dominguez right now.
15th in all of the league.
Right, so they have guys that waiting in the wings, and brought up Severino too. Who I every time I read a Severino update, it's like he's about to come back, and then you see like
He had a setback.
Kluber's pitching instead, Herman was pitching instead, and he has a setback, and they're not bringing him. I will say for the playoffs, if they do win that playing game, which by the way is that playing game going to be? Who is it? It's going to be Cole versus, if Cole's healthy, which he probably is, versus like Chris Sale in a 1-game playoff like that. That gets me pretty scared. I've talked to some Yankee. My Yankee fan friends, and they're just like, yeah, it's going to be fine. Like, the Sox stink, and they'll hit Sale, and Cole's going to win the Cy Young this year. I'm like, I don't know. I feel very nervous about it, but I think if the Yankees got in the dance, I like them if Andrew Heaney never touches a baseball again. Gallo hasn't been hitting the ball enough. I know right now they're struggling with the Blue Jays. I think they're tied right now in the middle of the game, but it's like if the Yankees get in, I think they can make some noise. I'm not sure if anything can really beat the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are a super team, more so than the Yankees, but I'd rather see them get in there and have a lot more faith in the Yankees advancing. I would just love a shot to beat the Sox, beat the Astros, and have a chance versus Scherzer and
you think they beat Tampa?
All those guys over. I mean, that's another good point too. I want to beat Tampa. I need to.
I don't think the Yankees can beat Tampa.
I'll weirdly be satisfied if the Yankees beat like the Sox / Houston / Tampa. If they beat those teams, I'll feel somewhat validated. If they lose to the Dodgers, it is what it is. Like their Dodgers are pretty much as good as it gets. I know the Giants are too, but I'm not sure why the Giants I just can't accept as being a good team. Like if they seven the field the Yankees, I'm like the Yankees have all-stars. The Giants they have a bunch of like scrubs in my opinion, which is a terribly New York centric thing to say. But I don't know. Maybe I'm getting like this LA everyone wearing Dodger hats kind of like bleeding into my brain. And I'm thinking like they're too good to beat, but. I think if you put the Yankees and the Mets both in the playoffs, I think it's hard to argue the Yankees would definitely make it further than the Mets would.
Well, Eddie, you said something about scrubs. Weren't the Yankees 2 years ago scrubs? And they were a 100-win team with Aaron Boone. With this guy can't stand. I mean,
he
seriously.
He should have lost his job.
Oh,
last
shut
year.
up! You sound like an idiot.
I don't think Boone has power. I think it's like these weirdo, like Ivy League kind of analytics guys in a back room, and they just have like, the guy that was on ESPN used to play for us to hit the home run. Yeah, it's fine. Like put a hat on him and he can sit in the dugout.
They're not the only team like that.
We're gonna feed him.
No,
Tampa's like
it's
that.
definitely true.
Stop it. Kevin Cash is the best
No, he's
manager
not.
in
He's not
baseball.
running that team.
Kevin Cash is the best manager
Wait
in
a
baseball.
second. How many GMs have we seen get jobs in the major leagues from the Tampa Bay Rays? What do you think? That's just a coincidence? It's because of Kevin Cash?
And you just
I'm
think the
sorry.
Red Sox flipped the
It's
switch?
Kevin Cash. He's done everything. He's hitting the ball. He's running the bases. He's playing defense. Give me a break.
He has more input than Aaron Boone does.
How do you know? Are you friends with him? Are you hanging out with him? Are you cleaning his
I can't
underwear?
reveal my sources.
Are you cleaning his jersey? Come on, seriously.
I clean a lot of things,
You
but I
probably
cannot
do.
tell you
Maybe
what
you got to
he's
clean his
or does
ass
not.
because obviously you have no idea what you're talking about.
All I know is that he is a better manager than the Bonehead we have now.
How do you? And this is here. You see what I'm talking about, Mr. Spaghetti. I'm sitting here listening to this guy, and he's lost his damn mind. Now, I'm not saying Kevin Cash isn't a great player. I mean, a great manager. But I'm also not saying Aaron Boone is a bad one. Because if you look at Aaron Boone, his first 2 seasons, 100 wins. Tell me the last Yankee manager back-to-back 100 wins. Eddie, you know?
I would say Torrey.
He'd probably be my guess too, but it's probably not the answer.
It's not it. No, it's not. It's Billy Martin. Okay? That was the last manager for the Yankees to win back-to-back years with 100 wins.
Can I ask you a question?
Billy Martin.
Can I ask you a question?
What?
When he doesn't have to play the Royals or the Orioles.
We're not talking to this.
No. But in the playoffs,
you can't say
how
the
does he
Orioles,
manage?
The Yankees stink versus the Orioles this year.
Yeah, they
Well,
do.
no, but yeah, you're right. But they're awful. But what I'm trying to say is, Mr. Spaghetti, that when the good teams and the good managers have to go up against Aaron Boone,
God.
the man gets outmanaged every time.
Really?
A.J. Hinch did it.
How's the Boston?
Alex Cora did it.
Really? How's he doing right now in the second half against the Yankees? Alex Cora.
They still have a winning record.
What have they done in the second half? The Yankees are a completely different team than the first half. What is his record against the Yankees?
In the second half?
Yes.
0-3?
Worse than that. Worse than that, buddy. Worse than that.
How could you be worse than 0-3?
Because
that's winless.
How many games have they played in the second half? They played 2 series against the Red Sox, 3 and 4 games. That's 7 games. I think they're 6-1 against Alex Cora in the second half. Okay?
Right,
so
that's close.
It's not good. Okay? You don't say that they can't win. All
That's
right?
not true. They're
all right?
9-6. So that means they were 9-0 in the first half?
What are you talking about? They couldn't beat them. They couldn't beat them in the first half. And look at what they're doing now.